I kind of think of Shelley as like the Justice League. Everyone talks about, Brindley Cannon, but they're kind of like the Justice League. They just have a nice set of characters that back them up.
When it comes to high school sports, East Idaho never gets its due.
I ran into Jeremy Hess, the AD of Grace Luther, and, he was just excited. And then, I'm just talking to him, and he goes, we have 7 girls. So just amazing.
But the East Idaho Prepcast has changed that, covering the biggest sports stories from Salmon all the way down to Bear Lake.
And again, Grace is always that team just kind of lurking, like, yeah, there's Grace. They, they don't have social media, but you know what? They have footballs, they got grass, and they got pads, and they use all those very well.
It's the East Idaho Prepcast with Sean Kane on IdahoSports.com.
That's right. Welcome to another edition of the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, breaking down top stories from Districts 5 and 6 of East Idaho High School athletics. It's Thursday evening, 5:22. School is just about out, and the kids are all right. This show is sponsored by Ideal, a state-sponsored tax advantage savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. With the rising cost of college, developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping families finance a college education. An Ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school, apprenticeship, or even student loan repayments. For more information, go to idsavings.org. With the sponsorship out of the way and the kids are definitely all right, let's bring in our East Idaho expert and insider and champion tennis coach, the man, the myth, the legend, all the above, Sean Kane, and the birthday boy. What up, birthday boy?
Hey, thanks, Joel. Yeah, great intro as always. And the one thing I was thinking about is, it's a line from Marvel's Avengers, is part of the journey's the end. And today's kind of the end of our journey, right? So for East Idaho Prepcast, it's been a great journey through this year of high school sports, but today's kind of the end, and that's just part of the journey. And I'm very grateful that we can be here to be part of this ending.
Yeah, I agree. And cool to have an ending on your birthday, Sean. You're 30 years old once again. It's great to be there with you at 30 years old.
As long as I'm younger than Skaggs, right?
That's right. Totally. No, it is the end of the road for the 2004-2005 season. We finished off pretty good here in East Idaho for all the spring sports. Let's get right into it, Sean. We got golf, track and field, tennis, softball, and baseball. And we'll finish with some final thoughts from you and I. But let's start with golf. We had 4A, 3A playing boys and girls. Snake River for boys, we'll start with there first. 4A boys, they claimed second place behind some great playing. 3A Declo, the Declo Hornets are the champs. Of course, they're from even though they're in the Magic Valley this whole year, they're now in the SCIC. So we're going to claim them. Magic Valley Prepcast can claim them also. But well done from Snake River getting second place, and Declo for the second title in 3 years. They are your 3A state champs in boys golf.
Yeah, it just overall, like the spring golf season kind of lost in the sauce, as you'd say, but we've done a really good job of bringing it. We have to thank Jeb Harrison of Snake River, right, coming on the show, giving us some insight to this, and the Snake River boys taking second. Bjorn Lundquist of Teton, Teton East Idaho team, he took second with 151. The winning score was 144 over the rounds. And then Crew Albertson of Snake River did take fourth, but Snake River, a phenomenal job. Congrats to Declo. We're going to claim them. I'm sure they'll talk about him on another podcast, but Declo, joining this conference, Wendell and Declo joining the conference over here in Southeast Idaho. What a great thing. That's a topic on its own, Joel. Like, just that conference aligning with how great all those sports teams are, West Side, Aberdeen, right? It's just been a phenomenal competition district-wide in almost every sport. And I think it's just raising the bar for everyone. And so congrats to Declo, but congrats to those conferences joining and really making something, I think, pretty special as a conference here in East Idaho.
Yeah, definitely. So congrats to Declo. Here are your team scores for 3A. We're going to bring those up here. You got Declo first, 678, and then Melba decently close. Still a 6-point lead though for Declo, so pretty good there. And then you'll see down, you'll see Grace as well as Ryrie. Want to shout out Ryrie's head coach Jake Landon, who also, besides Snake River's head coach Sean, helped us out with some golf results. You know, while we were trying to get some golf help, it, like you said, got lost in the sauce, but Jake Landon helped us out there as well. So congrats to Ryrie. They got 9th. And for the girls, let's go over the girls' 3A scores. Soda gets 2nd, Grace right behind them, 3rd at 10 strokes though. And then Declo 5th, Ryrie 6th. You can see that all there. So congrats to, but specifically congrats as we are covering the top stories. Declo gets 1st in 3A. Sean, let's go to 4A, the 4A golf team scores. We already teased this out a little bit, but Snake River, like you see there on the left-hand side, they got 2nd. Teton gets 4th place. And surprisingly, maybe it's not surprising because all of Sugar Salem's athletes are in track and playing softball and baseball.
Who's left?
Sugar,
Who's left?
Right, exactly. And Sugar, man, they're just always so good in all the sports. So it's a bit surprising to see them down there tied for 6th. You wonder if they might take that into the offseason, the Sugar Salem golf team, and say, hey, we're the diggers. We do better than 6th place, but down there tied for 6th. And then for the girls, Bear Lake getting 3rd, and Teton 5th. 5th as well. So congrats to them. But again, got to give a big shout out to Declo, their 2nd title in 3 years for golf. And Sean, tell us about some of the Soda athletes from that 3A girls squad that got. So let's go back to Soda really fast. Excuse me.
Yeah, you had Jaden Parker.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Jaden Parker Soda got 2nd. She shot 162. The winning score was 155. Cameron Mansfield of Grace got 3rd. 163. So you in those top scorers, you know, Soda and Grace were right in there. As you know, if you can't see this and you're listening at home, Ambrose 755, Soda 784, Grace 794. So there is some difference in those scores, right? Ambrose the clear-cut winner, but Soda and Grace right there at the finish line, and a really nice job by both those teams in that 3A golf girls division.
And they're playing out there in that, I think it was Burley, right, on that quick course out in Magic Valley. And Sean's dog agrees. So congrats to all the 4A, 3A golf teams and 2A for their accomplishments here in East Idaho. We look forward to 5A, 6A, Sean, in the fall as they've moved to fall, and it's a lot of fun playing in the fall. They get a little more golf in, that's for sure. And we'll see if maybe in the future 2A through 4A follows suit. So congrats to them. Let's go on to track and field. We teased it out. Let's do it. East Idaho kind of struggled, Sean, in 6A. You know, Rigby goes 6s for boys and girls, 6th place, that is. But really, Mountain View, on both sides, they sweep it out there from the Treasure Valley. So well done to them. But yeah, we kind of struggled there team-wise. With Rigby getting 6th on both boys and girls, and then Highland tied for 9th, as you see there on your screen. Highland not at state for girls. Let's talk about individual, though, Sean, as we have a couple that we got to shout out from 6A boys. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're going to have to immediately go to Spencer Van Orden, right? You know, the 110 hurdles, the 300 hurdles. If it has hurdles and has Highland, it's Van Orden, right? A big time job there. Braden Mon from Rigby with the discus also was a champion. But really, when you look at 6A boys for East Idaho, it's Spencer right now is really the only one kind of carrying that torch. But you do see a lot of parity. There's a lot of different teams up there, but Spencer just phenomenal, breaking records, nationally ranked, just phenomenal. And
only a junior for those who don't know. We've mentioned his name a few times this season, but congrats to Spencer Van Orden. Great job on the hurdles. He also, I did see that he ran some sprints as well. He was like 2nd or 3rd, top 5 in a lot of the other sprints. So interesting to see him expand that. Or maybe he's already expanded it, but we hadn't seen it. And so it was cool to see him participate in some of those other events. Let's go to 5A team scores, Sean, from track and field. Bishop Kelly in first for the boys by a lot of points, dude.
Yes.
But Skyline comes in second by 1 point, just beating out Lewiston, 57 points to 56. And that was behind some quick running by nobody else than that receiver out of 5A Skyline.
Crockett.
Zion Crockett, only
Yep.
a junior, followed by sophomore Carter Perry out of Preston.
Yeah, it was, and if you're watching at home or if you're listening, Bishop Kelly won boys 113, Skyline second at 57. There's a big point margin there, but Skyline, that's a great job coming in, getting second. Lewiston took third at 56, like you said, Joel, by 1 point difference. Lewiston new to the 5A. They were 6A last year. But you had some good good job, by like you said, Crockett. Century took 10th. You had Ethan Hansen wins the 3200 for Century. Gavin Schiffelman from Pocatello won the shot put. So you had a lot of good people East Idaho represented it, right? And you have Owen Gregory out of Blackfoot at the 800. I think anything past 800 usually comes from East Idaho.
Right.
Bishop Kelly did win the 1600 there. I mean, that must be a fluke. I don't know. But yeah, you had Zion Crockett wins that 100. And like I said, Owen Gregory, we talked about him a little bit. He's run phenomenal. A great job. The shot put won by Pocatello's Gavin Schiffelman. He did a great job. But overall, it's been difficult track wise to get anything past that BK Giant there, but which leads to if you had the graphic before, Moscow winning the girls, right? That was
very impressive.
That was a big surprise. And talking to some track coaches around the 5A level, they were like, and not only did Moscow win, they won big, 95-79 over BK. And I don't know if a lot of people saw that coming. The best ranking team for East Idaho is Pocatello at 4th with 60 points. Idaho Falls at 5th with 57, but Pocatello girls running has kind of been a staple in that state track and field meet. But good job by Moscow to bring that home. But you did have JC Jensen of Idaho Falls take the 3200. Like I said, when it comes to those long distance races, East Idaho, the 4x400 was won by the relay team of Pocatello. And then Joel, you have to talk about your favorite person in the shot put.
Yeah, man, Camry Waterhouse, totally my favorite center in East Idaho.
Yeah,
arguably my favorite center.
She wins a shot put with 39, 2.5, and then another Blackfoot basketball player, Lauren Christensen, takes that triple jump as well. So, a lot of East Idaho state champions there. But yeah, track and field is becoming more and more of a sport where you see a lot of different people win, right?
Yeah.
It used to have kind of these super teams, and now you see a little more difference in it. But a good job by our East Idaho runners and field event players to get some championships and bring home some nice little medals and trophies.
Yeah, and I mentioned this. I wanted to just shout it out one more time. With Zion Crockett, only a junior, winning the 100. Right behind him was Carter Perry out of Preston, who's only a sophomore, Sean. And it was only a few seconds, if that. So I'm curious to see how that rivalry, if it becomes a rivalry, comes about next year. Preston's going to have a lot of players back for football. A lot of those players also do track and field. So I'm curious if we'll see, I don't know, maybe some back and forth. Obviously, both players play offense. But a little Carter Perry versus Zion Crockett as we move into football season next year, and then track and field as well. Let's go down to 4A. Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, no, I was going to say, we've watched Perry play football. I just never took him as a 100 runner. So right. I found that very interesting. Obviously, did it all year, performed very well, and, took second in state. But he's a pretty tall guy. Like, usually you don't have – I don't think you have that length in that 100 run normally. But he's kind of a do-it-all guy from Preston. So I found that very interesting to have a tall guy in the 100, but I mean, he's a sophomore, but he's lived an adult life, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go down to 4A team scores. And this is where Sugar Salem belongs, right, Sean? First place, boys, 94 points. And no one was after that, no really East Idaho teams until you get down to Snake River at 7, and then Teton 8, American Falls 9. But Sugar Salem 94 points. The next closest was Filer, getting second place with 69. And then the next closest East Idaho team was, again, Snake River in 7th place with 53.
Yeah, you know, Snake River, it's a familiar place, or excuse me, Snake River. Sugar Salem, it's a familiar place. You know, when it comes to cross country and track and field, they have more state championships than anyone really, I think. And that comes from a lot of placers because as you went to this next graphic, you look at the 4A boys and you don't see a ton of Snake River as champions, but you know, to win that by that margin, they place in that top 3 or 4 or 5, right? They had a lot of placers. In fact, Jack Larson in the high jump is the only state champion for Snake River, which that's when you see that score, that's not what you would initially think, but that's because they're good and they have people competing at every facet of this track and field, and they had a lot of placers, and when that happens, you win state. But man, when you look at this division at 4A, if you go back to the other one, man, we have a ton of East Idaho people vying for state championships. I mean, look at American Falls, Jose Torres with the 100, 200, and then Austin Adler of American Falls as well. Zane Lundquist from Teton at 3,200. Like I said, 3,200 pretty much resides in East Idaho. Don't look at the girls' side. Cannon Coons, you know, from Teton, a state champion. Benjamin Walker, the 300 hurdle, McCall Donnelly, I'm claiming them. Another, you know, American Falls has a lot of state champions for what their score was, right? The 4x400, they're the champions. And American Falls is down there on that list, but just so many great competitors. And then also Blue Driscoll, the triple jump. We've heard his name from football before. Yep. And what a phenomenal job on the boys' side for East Idaho in the track and field.
Yeah, so let's go to the girls. Sugar Salem gets 3rd place. And then down there, that's it, actually. Excuse me, from East Idaho. But ironically, let's go to the individuals, because you see, in terms of individual state champions, you see a few more Sugar Salems, which goes back to your point, Sean. It was almost like Sugar Salem was playing the game the proper way, if you will, on the boys' side. Okay, we're not going to have a bunch of state champions, or even a handful of state champions, but we're going to place. Exactly, we're going to place in the top. What is it? Top 10 score. Or top 8. I don't have my wife next to me, but it's something like that. So you may not have state champions. You may not even get 2nd place, but if you get a clump of runners, of participants in that top 5, top 10, then you're going to score and you're going to make stuff happen. On the girls' side, Sugar Salem, you see it on your screen at the bottom, high jump, the pole vault, and long jump, Sugar Salem state champions. But in terms of team scores, they get 3rd place.
Yeah, and you know, it was pretty close. Sugar Salem had 93, and it was 101, 110. Kimberly won with 110. Coeur d'Alene Charter 101, 93. So that's a pretty close race there. So you know, Sugar placed in a lot of races and just didn't probably have quite enough to take down to Kimberly. But you know, right there, right in the mix. I'm sure that one will, you know, Sugar will be back just as strong next year, looking to get the double, right? The boys and the girls.
Yeah, definitely. And just really quick, let's one more time shout out these girls: Tasha Larson, Macy Kern, Sorrel Clark from Sugar Salem, winning those bottom 3 events from in track and field. So congrats to them. Again, high jump Tasha Larson, pole vault Macy Kern, and the long jump Sorrel Clark. Sean, we need some javelin champions, all right, from East Idaho. So let's do this. Let's go to 3A, and because I'm pretty sure there was a javelin thrower in 3A, Sean. If not 3A, it's 2A, but there is a javelin champion. We're coming up to them. But Nampa Christian of the boys just completely steamroll the competition. But Aberdeen gets 2nd place after that massive 126.5 score by Nampa Christian. But Aberdeen Tigers, 68 points, second place. Westside fourth, Malad fifth, North Fremont sixth. And then down there, Soda Springs 8th, Ryrie 10th. So a lot of teams got to state, and they placed in state, but Aberdeen was the closest in second place for the boys.
Yeah, Napa Christensen kind of, took the field as far as points goes, but so many East Idaho teams, Aberdeen, Westside, Malad, North Fremont, Soda Springs, and Ryrie, all in the top 10. They're just thinking, like, if we put everyone together, we'd win.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, we're dominating the top 10, and man, yeah, you had Ethan Willis and the 800, North Fremont, right? We've heard this name before, right? Corbin Johnson takes the 3200.
Yeah, great cross country runner.
Yeah, Deegan Stoller from Soda Springs, the 100 hurdles, the 1600 RM, North Fremont. Roy Wynn, high jump North Fremont, Cannon Foster, pole vault Aberdeen, Raleigh Calder, West Jefferson. I mean, that boys side is just chock full of East Idaho state champions.
Yeah, awesome. So congrats to those boys. Let's go to the girls. Firth gets first place, Sean, 134 points. We talk about a boat race from Nampa Christian. How about Firth doing similar damage? Nampa Christian gets second, so good job from them. The boys first, girls second, but Firth gets the dub, gets the state championship for the girls, and then Malad is in third, Ryrie fourth. And that was pretty close, Sean, 57 points, 53.5 respectively. After that, you had Aberdeen at 7th, Westside 8th, Declo 9th, and that was pretty close as well. Westside, Declo, they went 37.5 and 34 points respectively. And that's it for girls on the East Idaho side. But again, another great representation from East Idaho, especially with Firth getting first place at state. Yeah,
Firth dominated the field. As you look at this, you're going to see a ton of Firth state championships. And, we'll start out with Kenzie Nielsen from Firth, 1600. And then 3200 again. I tell you, the 3200 lives in East Idaho. Lucy Boone, we've heard from famous. Her, from Ryrie, Sage Rowland, from Aberdeen with the 300 medals. And then if you participated in a relay, well, thanks for coming. But Firth won all three relays. Thanks for coming, Matt, and then Madison Torgensen from Firth also took the shot, and Peyton Messick from Firth took the pole vault. I mean, Firth just dominated, and it's cool to see that. I like it, Joel. And this is just a personal I like to see it when you actually have the state champions, and then you win the state championship of this team. Like, right? I understand it's a numbers game, and if you get there and you got enough placers, you can win. But it's really cool to see. I believe it's 4 individual state champions for Firth and the team trophy. I love to see that. I love to see the state champions bring home the team trophy as well. It's something very fun to see.
Yeah, it's really cool. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total state champions for Firth, and that's not including the other participants in the relays, right? So you have even more than that. But in terms of, the state titles that they brought home from track, you had 6, 1600, and then 4x1, 4x2, 4x4, shot put, pole vault. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, right. Firth getting it done both individually and collectively as a team. Let's go to 2A. I think, Sean, this is where we get our javelin champion. I sure hope so. But for boys and girls, you had Butte County Grace, 3rd, 3 and 4 for boys, 52, 48 points respectively. You also had Rockland down there at 7th with 32 points, and Raft River just above them, 6th place with 43 points. Let's talk about the boys a little bit, Sean.
Yeah, Logos was the clear favorite. If you look at those point totals, they pretty much
Logos completely boat races.
Yeah, Logos pretty much got the mop out and swept it up. But hey, Butte County, they're only 4 points away from second place, which everyone was playing for second place in this in this 2A race. But a nice job by Butte County for sure.
And then let's individually look at some of Butte County. Just down there in the long jump, Keaton Archibald, we've talked about him a few times as he broke the school record in the long jump and did more damage at state.
Yeah, you had Keaton Archibald. He did a phenomenal job. You also have Sky Cree Medicine from Showban with the javelin, right?
Yeah,
Joel's looking
there
for
it
the
is.
javelin. I talked to a lot of people about the javelin this year, and it was really interesting because coaches would say, "Oh yeah, so and so qualified," but I don't know. It seemed to be a very mixed bag of results. Like someone could just have a really good throw at wherever they're at that time, but sustaining that seemed to be a lot harder. I think being a new event, so that was pretty. It was interesting to hear because remember you talked about it. So like, what's a good throw? And they're like, oh, 149 or something, and I'm like, oh, I saw someone win one with 49. He's like, yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Like people go out and sometimes the best is really, really low, and sometimes it's really, really good. It's like norm setting right now for the javelin, and but it was fun to see that event be part of track and field this year.
Right on. So congrats to Sky Cree Medicine from Showban winning the javelin. He's our guy. We finally have a javelin winner here in East Idaho. And then
first
Parker
ever.
Banks. Yeah, first ever. Parker Banks from Chalice with the pole vault winning that, which is amazing. I still can't believe how anyone does the pole vault, honestly. You got to get that pole right in the hole and then flip yourself over another pole. It's insane. And then, of course, Keaton Archibald, we already talked about him. Let's go to the girls. The team scores for the girls. Of course, Logos doing work, but Prairie a little bit closer in the girls. And a lot of basketball players I noticed. I was watching North Idaho Prepcast, Sean. A lot of basketball players that I covered during the 2A state championship were also in track and field. So wanted to give a little shout out to Prairie. But of course, from East Idaho, we have Grace at 5th, Chalice 6th, and then Rockland 7th. So they go 5, 6, 7, which is respectable. With 40, 36.3, and then 34 points respectively.
Yeah, it was a very, very good job. And when you get to 2A, it's the same athletes. You're recycling, right? It's not like at the 2A level, it's not like, oh, okay, we're getting the track athletes out here now, right? It's your basketball players, it's your volleyball players. And Callie Coleman, 1,600 from Grace. She had a phenomenal year as well. And she won state. And like I said, these distance runners, they come from East Idaho. Just a phenomenal job.
Yeah, and I also wanted to shout out Sage Elvin, one of my favorite players to watch. She played a lot of 4 and 5 for that Prairie team. She won the discus, so congrats. I'm sure no one from Prairie is watching the East Idaho Prepcast, but if you are, good job, Sage Elvin. It was really fun to cover you both in track and in basketball. Also, Lexi Hutig from Valley. She also played basketball. Look at her, Sean. Goes 1, 2, and 3, or goes 1, 1, and 1 for pole vault, long jump, triple jump. I know that she's from Magic Valley, but again, got to cover her for girls 2A, and she was a lot of fun to watch. So congrats to her. Anything else from 2A, Sean, you want to mention?
No, I was just going to say that's kind of a weird mix of events, right? Pole vault, long jump, triple jump. I mean, the long jump and triple jump I'll give you, but then throw the pole vault in there. Obviously, she does play basketball, right? When you look at those events, it's not a mystery.
Yeah, for sure. Look, there's Sean Kane. There's his face again. Here's my face. Before we continue, we're going to go into tennis, but let's mention our sponsor, Ideal, a state-sponsored tax advantage savings plan that helps families pay for the cost of college. With the rising cost of college, developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping families finance a college education. An Ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school, apprenticeship, or even student loan repayments. For more information, go to idsavings.org. Sean, you are the tennis guru, the tennis coach. You won a lot of state championships. Give us an overall picture. We have some videos that you were able to capture or you received, and we're going to share here on the program. But give us a little overview of how state went from your vantage point.
Well, how it went was Friday was a good day and Saturday was a rainy day. So Friday, everyone, whatever level you're playing, 4A, 5A, 6A, played an extra round Friday, which changes the dynamic of it. We played an extra round on Friday, and then Saturday was basically going to be a no-go to be outside. So most tournaments had to move to some sort of indoor location, making it a much longer tournament and things like that, and battling with waiting, battling with when I'm going to play, things like that. But overall, a really good tournament, I think, for East Idaho. And where East Idaho kind of has its meat and potatoes is at the 5A level. 6A level, it's very hard for East Idaho to get in to the mix of things because Boise sends 10 spots of a 16 draw bracket. So East for 6A East Idaho, it's very, very hard, but definitely some good players from there. But the kind of set that picture for you. It was cold. The short end of the stick. It wasn't nice in Boise, which, like, oh, we're gonna do everything in Boise because it's nice, but whatever.
Yeah,
Whatever.
man. Well, so let's talk about some of those the team scores for tennis. We'll bring that up right here. So 6A state tennis, Sean, you mentioned it. East Idaho didn't do great here. Boys 7th, 10th, and 9th, or 7th, 8th, and 9th, excuse me, with 10, 7, and 5 points from boys. On the girls' side, well, you just had Thunder Ridge and Madison with 7 and 6 points respectively. So that tracks on what you mentioned. It's hard to get East Idaho representation, and then when they get there, a lot of times it's a lot of Treasure Valley schools.
Yeah, it's like I said, 10 of those spots. It's a 16 person draw. 10 of the spots are District 3. So there's only so many places you can go in the draw where they're not playing each other from the same district. So if you're a Madison, you're a Highland, you're playing a Boise team first round, regardless maybe of whatever happened. So it's very difficult. And Boise 6A tennis is just deep. Like I said, top 10 go. The top 5 are just as good as anyone anywhere. And yeah, as we move to this, I do have to give a shout out to Connor Judson of Coeur d'Alene. Just rolled through the tournament, and just to know this, Joel, last year he was set to play in the semifinals. Connor Judson, his appendix blew up or something with his appendix, and he had to withdraw, so he didn't even get to finish the tournament last year. So he came back this year and wins 6A boys singles, pretty much rolled everyone.
Yeah,
and
what a great comeback story. Love that.
Yeah. And I'm not a medical doctor. I don't know how, I just know, like, people have to have emergency appendix surgeries, right? Like he's from Coeur d'Alene. I don't know exactly what happened, but he had to go like St. Luke's and Boise and get the appendix removed. Couldn't play the rest of the tournament. Comes back this year as a senior, wins it. I mean, you couldn't write a better Disney tennis story in the 6A level, but a good job there. And yeah, as you look at this, you don't see any 6A teams except for in mixed doubles. The Madison team does take 3rd place, which isn't on this graphic.
Right on. Well, congrats to Madison, and let's go back to the team scores. Highland, Thunder Ridge, Madison right on the boys' side, and then Thunder Ridge and Madison scoring, getting to state, participating there. So good job to them. Let's go to 5A tennis, 5A team scores, Sean, where we did have some more success from East Idaho. You had Century second, and boys. I know. You were there. I'm so sorry. But boys get second, but 2 and 3. East Idaho goes second and third, 42 and 32 points respectively. Skyline down at 10. And then Hillcrest tied for 8th, a four-way tie for 8th place. But walk us through that boys score for Century, Sean.
Oh, well, I will start with this. There's 5 state championships crowned at tennis, right?
Right.
And all 5 state championships, there was someone from East Idaho. Boys singles, it was Idaho Falls versus Bishop Kelly. Girls singles, it was Sandpoint versus Hillcrest. Boys doubles, it was Idaho Falls versus Century. Girls doubles, it was Idaho versus Bishop Kelly. And then mixed doubles was Century versus Bishop Kelly. So if you look at 5A tennis, East Idaho was in every championship.
Awesome.
So where these scores are deceiving is it comes down to representation, right? And that's the tough part. So on the boys' side, where my team loses by 1.5 points, we send 4 boys. That's it, Joel. We have 4 boys. We have to be near perfect and hope maybe Bishop Kelly loses somewhere, because they send 16 competitors to the bracket, right? So
Gotcha.
it's a huge difference. So, and then Idaho Falls is in 2 championships and they take 3rd, right? I mean, so you would think if you're Idaho Falls, I make it to 2 state championships in the boys' side, we should be vying for this state championship. Nope, sorry. Having more reps there changes that, but it doesn't change the fact that East Idaho was really good at this tournament. And from the East Idaho side, on the boys' side, like I said, boys doubles was Century versus Idaho Falls, and a Century team of Liam and Daniel McGee win. They go back to back over.
And those are brothers, right, Sean?
Yeah, so both those teams are brothers from Idaho Falls, Ozzie Goldberg and Indy, both a set of brothers in that doubles final. And like, I'm the Century coach, but I also have to give a big shout out to this Century team of Daniel McGee and Liam McGee brothers, right? They go like 54-4 over 2 years, back-to-back state titles. Daniel McGee is a senior. He graduates. He goes 85-10 over 4 years, 85 wins, like 10 losses. So just a phenomenal job. And, credit to the Idaho Falls team. We had played that Idaho Falls team 3 times already in the regular season and beaten them, pretty handedly all 3 times. But Daniel and Liam only lose 4 games en route to the state championship. There is a pretty dominant performance. So great job there. And then if we go up to boys, you have Rhett Locke versus Max Trainer, who we've talked about in the Prepcast.
Right.
Phenomenal job. He's a junior. He'll be a senior next year. Last year, he won mixed doubles, and he won the first set, but ran out a little bit of gas against the Bishop Kelly player. And then girls singles, she was our player of the week, Brindley Nelson. She won Capital Invite. She's had a stellar season. Pepper from Sandpoint is she's a sophomore, Joel. She's 6'4", I think, minimum. And
Pepper was just better, man.
And it's not that Brindley is bad. The Pepper is just really, really good. But Brindley Nelson, phenomenal tournament. We go to girls doubles, and you have Katie Woodhouse, Addie Woodhouse. They beat the defending champions. That BK team won last year in a 3-setter. And then at mixed doubles, Nate Romrell and Kate Spicer from Century defeat Bishop Kelly as well in a 3-setter, which was, if you look at all 3 of these matches, like the girls doubles was pretty good, but the most entertaining match I think anyone will say was that mixed doubles final. That was near 3 hours long.
Wow.
Inside when we're trying to get other matches on. But Kate Spicer, only a sophomore. Nate and Romrell, let me tell you about this kid. Doesn't even make the state last year, Joel. He's someone who put in the most work I've ever seen in a tennis player, probably in my 20 years. And he goes from not making it a state to becoming a state champion in the next year. So huge shout out to Nate Romrell. And you can't coach that. It's just a kid that puts in the work every day. So East Idaho, like I said, is in every part of that graphic right there.
Yeah. Well, and Sean, we teased this earlier. Let's watch a few clips of some of these championship moments from boys doubles. That was Century. And then just walk us through this. We'll first do boys doubles. Again, this Daniel McGee, Liam McGee defeating Ozzie and Indy Groberg 6-2, 6-0. Let's watch a clip and walk us through that.
Winner, and the brothers have a kind of a weird embrace there where Daniel goes down. But good job by those guys there.
Right on. Okay, because I watched the video earlier, I thought, well, that's kind of an awkward like embrace, awkward hug. But yeah, they're brothers, so whatever. They can do what they want. All good.
Yeah,
So
yes,
congrats to Daniel and Liam. That's awesome.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they've been one of the most dominant teams in all of Idaho for the past 2 years. So it was pretty cool to see. And just like, I guess, I think if anything, it's more of like almost a relief to win. Like, you're supposed to win, but that relief to win. But these guys, it didn't matter who they were playing. If it was snowing, uh, you know, they went out and played hard every time. So congrats to them.
Yeah. All right, let's now watch the girls doubles. This is Katie Woodhouse and Addie Westwood defeating Kayla Nielsen and Sophia Guzman from Bishop Kelly. This one's a little bit longer, so walk us through this one, Sean.
Yeah, so this is one that split sets. The closest team to us, they're all four in black, but the closest one to us is Bishop Kelly. And Bishop Kelly kind of went to a lobbing technique. So you have both Idaho Falls players back. And then you're going to eventually see Katie Woodhouse is going to come in a couple shots here and put this away after a few more lobs. Nice. I like the parents. Nice. So she comes in right here. Boom. Championship. Sew it up. Put it in a bag. And Katie Woodhouse won mixed last year with Max Trainer. And Addie won fourth in girls singles. So that was a nice win for the IF girls doubles.
That's awesome. And I love their handshake afterwards. Both,
they were a little
team handshake, and that was sweet, man. Good chemistry.
A little more prepared there. I'll have to work on that. I get it. I'm taking notes.
That's right. So congrats to Katie Woodhouse, Addie Westwood from Idaho Falls on their win. And thanks for sharing that video. Sean, did you get that video from their parents? Or was that the coach saying nice, I
don't know. That might be Janelle, the coach, but I don't know. The coach Janelle Lester also sent me a video of the parents' like reactions to it. I didn't give you that one, but that one's pretty funny too. But cool. Tennis is funny, right? Because everyone's like really, really quiet, and then all of a sudden you get that explosion of excitement. But yeah, congrats to Katie and Addie. They had a phenomenal season on the year.
Right on. Final video. Let's bring in Nate Romrell and Kate Spicer from Century defeating Bishop Kelly's Ryan Emerson and Maggie Scanlon. Here we go. Walk us through it, Sean.
So you're in at this point here. It's the third set. Kate and Nate on the farthest side were up 5-1. Now it's 6-5. Bishop Kelly again lobbing. And that ball almost hits that fan and goes out of bounds. Nate and Kate wrap it up. But the Bishop Kelly girl almost hit the fan with how high that lob was. But
seriously, almost got the roof. From the video, it looks like Nate Romrell is shorter than Kate Spicer.
Yeah, he's not a tall dude.
Yeah, and he was right at the line. It was almost like he was playing a pickleball, Sean. Have you played pickleball? He's just dinking and dunking across the net.
Yeah, one of those balls he definitely could have put away, but like I said, they were up 5-1 in the second set. Or in the third set, they're up 5-1. They got tentative. We're just trying to keep the ball in play.
Right.
It happens to the best of us. They end up winning 7-5, right? So they gave up a bunch of games, but congrats to them and congrats to BK too. They were in 3 finals, but only got 1.
Yeah, and there's your 5A scores once again. BK defeating Century boys by 1.5 points with 43.5. Century. Idaho Falls goes 2-3. Great for them. Skyline 6th, and then on the girls' side, Hillcrest 2nd, Century 4th, Idaho Falls 5th. So East Idaho goes 4-5, and then Bonneville Skyline in that tie for 7th place. So congrats to all the tennis teams and individuals from 5A. Let's go to 4A. Look at the team scores. Not a lot of East Idaho here, but we see Sugar Salem boys in 5th with Ryrie at 8th, rounding out the boys side. And then for girls, again, Sugar Salem 5th. And that was it from East Idaho.
Yeah, Sugar Salem is on the verge of bringing home some hardware, both on the boys and the girls side. Scott Terry has done a phenomenal job, right? They used to have like two very bad tennis courts by a church somewhere in Sugar Salem. Now they have a 6-court, very nice complex. They hosted districts. Sugar Salem, no one wants to hear this, but they're on the up and up in tennis as well.
Yeah, and then here are your individual scores. No Sugar Salem, no other East Idaho teams in here between mixed doubles, girls singles, boys singles. But again, wanted to go back to give a shout out to Sugar Salem for going 5-5 on girls and boys. Sean, anything else from tennis before we close it up and go out to the mound and to the circle?
No, I mean, just kind of my final thought is, East Idaho performed extremely well. I mean, 6A, it's not as representative, but we kind of talked about why that is. But we had a lot of good competitors from Highland, Thunder Ridge, Madison did a phenomenal job. But again, in a sport where you would think the Boise area would do, should have that tight hold, where they kind of did a little bit this year. I still think East Idaho performs phenomenally well, not being able to play as much due to weather and things like that. So just congrats to East Idaho, especially at that 4A level where we're getting more and more participants. I think Ryrie only had 2 boys that played. So that's really fun to see. And I love to see the tennis flourishing here in East Idaho.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Sean, we teased it out. Let's go to the circle and we'll hit the mound and we'll get out of here. Unfortunately for East Idaho, somewhat surprising. I think you and I were both a little surprised with the softball scores, man. A little bit disappointed, but that's okay. We can't always win here in East Idaho. But let's go down 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 from each classification. Starting with 6A, Highland did decent, right? They defeated Mountain View. I actually mentioned that on our softball prepcast that watch out for Highland. They pack a punch, and sure enough, Highland defeats Mountain View. But they were the only ones from East Idaho. They lost to Owyhee, and then they ended up losing to Timberline, and so they go 1-2 in that 6A softball tournament.
Yeah, I mean Highland. Look, they're the 5 seed. They win their first game, which is semi upset over the 4 seed. They have to play the 1. They have to play the 1 seed, and then when they get thrown back into the other half of the bracket, they have to play the 2 seed. So, I mean,
which no one expected Timberline to lose the Capitol. Honestly, no one on that. No one I talked to expected that.
No, and then look who comes out of that, Mountain View, a team that Highland beat, right? So, I mean, Highland gets anything different as far as the bracket goes, maybe they're placing, right? Because Mountain View goes on to take 2nd place, and Highland beat them. But, congrats to Highland. They had a phenomenal season, a team that's always been very competitive in softball. Had a few years kind of off, but back in that winning side this year.
Yeah. So let's go to 5A girls. Pocatello defeats Jerome 12-0. We all expected that, but then Pocatello, they lose to Skyview 6-3. Very surprising there. But Skyview took it to Bishop Kelly 8-3. We were all expecting a rematch from last year, right, Sean? Pocatello BK, we were looking for it, but Skyview spoiled the party, and then they spoiled the party again for us East Idahoans, and they defeat Pocatello 6-3. Pocatello goes to the loser side of the bracket, and then they lose to Middleton in a shootout, 13-11. So Pocatello also goes 1-2.
Yeah, what a interesting 5A tournament, right? I think, I thought Blackfoot would be somewhere too, right? Blackfoot loses to Burley, the 7th seed, and we do get that Pocatello Middleton rematch, like from basketball, but Middleton wins, and Bishop Kelly comes all the way back to win the whole thing, which is just unreal. Lewiston takes 2nd place as the 6th seed, and Skyview as the 5th seed takes the 3rd place. Like this, this bracket.
Who seeded this thing, man?
Yeah, this bracket. I just read a report how they were saying Max Preps is put the seeds in the championship games, but they obviously did not look at this bracket when they read this report.
No.
But I mean, for the most part, I think we do get the best teams at the end. But this year at 5A softball, it was not the case. There was, if you go by the whatever their seeds are, there was just oodles of upsets.
Right. Well, and let's say, just for argument's sake, let's say that the Max Preps were totally right, that these truly were the best teams. Pokey was the 1 seed. Jerome was the 8th seed. Burley was the 7th seed. And if we're all neutral, what a blast of a tournament, dude. Like, seriously? The 4 seed winning a Bishop Kelly going all the way from the loser side to win the whole thing. I mean, that's we've mentioned it, this metaphor, but what a great story, right? What a great fairy tale ending. We couldn't have written it better out of Hollywood.
Yeah, and the other thing I think about too is Bonneville. Bonneville, who doesn't even make it. And we talked about Bonneville as the team of the week on the Prepcast, right? The
Definitely.
Bonneville girls, Pocatello squeaks out a 7-6 win in the playing game. So I'm just saying, if Bonneville's in this bracket somewhere too, I mean, what happens? And then you got Skyview, who had to play a playing game that ends up taking 3rd as the 5th seed. I mean, you got more storylines than days of our lives.
You know what? The title of this episode was Champs of the Spring. That might be the new title. Love it. Yeah, what a fun tournament. Yeah, East Idaho didn't come out too positive in this one, but really, when you have the 4 seed winning it all against the 6 seed Lewiston, that's pretty special. So congrats to all the teams here, and hey, congrats to Pocatello for making it, Blackfoot as well for making the state tournament. Let's go into 4A softball, and let's see if anyone from East Idaho did anything here. Cole Valley, number 2 seed, winning it all. Marshall Valley came in at an 8 seed, but they went 0-2. Preston, they were a little bit surprised. They made a run, and they were peaking at the right time, but Preston also goes 0-2.
Yeah, and Preston new to this division, this classification. I think a lot of people kind of had Preston being a little better than a 7 seed, but Cole Valley took care of business, and and that's how it goes sometimes. Marsh Valley, they were one run away from going on, but yeah, it was interesting. You do get the 1 and 2 in the championship, just the 2 wins, but a good job by and then you also had Teton, who did make it, but then they lose, they get upset. Like it's softball this year. You saw, if you go by seeding, there was a lot of upsets, which it'll be interesting to see how that pans out over the course of maybe a couple of years. But yeah, and again, softball is a tournament bracket setup where you can lose and come all the way back, which is like volleyball, which I don't know if I like or not, Joel, but it does make it very captivating.
Yeah, no, I like the double elimination, but yeah, it's not the same as one and done, and the basketball tournaments. But yeah, do want to shout out Teton. They win that. They defeat Gooding in a quote upset, right? 5 and 4 seeds, 8-7 in 8 innings, and then they go around and they play the number 1 seed. They did hold them to 7 runs, which is respectable. Only score 1, and then they go over to Timberlake, to the loser side of the bracket, and they lose to, like you said, the number 6 Timberlake 4-2, and that's Teton's season. But yeah, we did have the 1 and 2, and then we had Weezer with that 3rd place. So if you want to 4A, if we're neutral and all the seedings are accurate, then 4A came out chalk. So good for that. So not as intense, not as storyliney as the 5A was. Let's go down to 3A softball. This was one that really surprised us. The number 1 seed Malad losing to North Fremont in that second round. They took care of Firth 14-4, but then North Fremont comes in and surprises everyone as the 4 seed, defeat Malad 7-5. Malad goes to the loser side of the bracket. They beat Declo. They beat Parma. They go to the championship game, though. They had to, get all the way back, kind of like what Bishop Kelly had to do. But Malad loses the tough one, Sean. 5-3 in the championship game. They get second. Nampa Christian takes the state championship.
Yeah, for 3A, East Idaho represented so well. It's just a bummer. Like, Firth had to play Malad first round, and in my opinion, That's always tough when you got that East Idaho matchup in the first round. But let's not take anything away from what North Fremont did. They come away with that 7-5 win over Malad. They can't hold off Nampa Christensen. North Fremont takes third. Malad ends up beating them in that third place game. But Malad you have to think if Malad didn't have to play all those extra games,
right?
Is it different? Is it different? Because it's 5-3 in that championship game, and Malad played a lot more games than Napper Christensen. You got to think and I know softball pitching, you can pitch a lot more, but I'm just thinking if you don't have to play all those extra games, is that result a little different? Maybe, I don't know. We did get the Malad Parma matchup that we thought just on the other half of the game, and Malad took care of business, but Napper Christensen, only the third seed, which I think them beating Parma by 16-4 in that kind of undefeated semifinal was, I think, surprising to a lot of people.
Yes,
but
definitely.
That's how it goes. I mean, I think Malad is a team that will always be in this bracket we're going to be talking about if we're still doing this show, Joel. You know what I mean? Like, they're just really good. But I want to congrat North Fremont on a very good run. I don't think a lot of people probably had penciled in North Fremont. I think a lot of people thought Orfino was a very tough 5 seed, if I'm not mistaken. But North Fremont got it done 12-11 and ends up taking third. But to get three placers from East Idaho, I'm going to call it a win overall.
Yeah, for sure. And I was looking at this bracket. Sean Malad, if I'm not mistaken, played 6 games. Nampa Christian only played 4. North Fremont, if I'm reading this right, North Fremont only played 4 games as well.
Yeah.
So Malad played 2 more games more than everybody else. And in softball, you can play your pitcher as much as you want. I think that's how it's different than baseball. But even so, your pitchers are going to be tired. Your players are going to be tired. They, again, playing 2 more games than everybody else. But I think Malad wants that North Fremont game back, that game 8, where they lost North Fremont 7-5, because then they go around, eventually they get North Fremont again in game 13, 5 games later, and they crush North Fremont 17-7. So that Malad, they were off their game. Something happened, right? They ate the wrong turkey sandwich, right? They didn't get their Gatorade or whatever it was, and they turn around, they did show North Fremont who is the better team. But at that point, that's their 5th game, and they got to try and play a 6th game that same day. And Nampa Christian defeats them 5-3. And because that score was so small, you wonder if it was a fatigue issue, right? It wasn't a big scoring game. It was only 8 scores total.
Yeah, you talk about how many games, but just think of this: like Nampa Christensen played at 3:45 Friday and didn't play again until Saturday, right? And at that point, Malad had played at 9 o'clock. They had played 2 games on Friday, so 3 games on they had played 3. They had played so much more, and Nampa Christensen had not played. So I mean, I think that's a huge advantage.
So so congratulations. Even so, right? You already mentioned Malad 2nd, North Fremont 3rd. And who else was it? It was Declo in there at Firth as well. So that was, like you said, we'll take that as a win. But we've said this: you win the games you're supposed to win, and when you don't, you either have to go the long way or you're out. Right? You win, you're in. You lose, you may be out unless it's volleyball, softball. In this case, Malad dropped that game 8, and that ended up hurting them in the end. But still, 2nd place, really well, great season from the Dragons. And Sean, we'll be talking about them again. You can count on it, unless you decide you don't want to do this Prepcast with me. But we'll be talking about Malad, Sean, moving forward. All right, let's go.
I was just gonna say, no, just Malad in general this year in girls sports. I mean, they had a stellar year. I think that's what you're gonna have. So much fun. They had just a phenomenal year. They have nothing to hang their hats on. Malad, just phenomenal year. The Dragons down south.
Yeah. Definitely. 2A, no East Idaho teams there, but you can see their Potlatch goes state champion there. They were the 1st seed. Genesee, the 2nd seed. They get 2nd place. Glens Ferry, from Magic Valley gets third place. So, but no East Idaho teams there. Let's go to baseball, Sean, and we'll get out of here. 6A baseball. No East Idaho teams here. Number 2, Middleton, though. Did that surprise you at all? Beating Owyhee, big, bad baseball power Owyhee loses them to Middleton 3-1 in a pitching battle.
I mean, not to me, Joel. I had heard Middleton was really the team to beat all year. Owyhee is the super school, right? They're like the team that gets all the superstars on one team,
right?
But this is why I like Middleton. Middleton could be playing down at 5A, and they chose to stay up at 6A, and I applaud that, and I like that, and I like that they won that game, just doing that, because realistically, Middleton could be playing down to division. They decided to stay up in baseball and win the state championship. You got to congrat their coaches, players. I mean, that takes a lot of culture and effort to do that, to say, hey, we're going to stay up, we're going to play at this level, we're going to take on these big teams, and they did it. So congrats to them.
And it was 6-5, 10-2. So they had one blowout, but the other games were close. 2 out of the 3 were very close games. So congrats to Middleton. That's awesome. Let's go to 5A, though, because we want to talk about East Idaho teams. Bonneville, Sean, the 1 seed. They get it done. Defeat Skyview, Twin Falls again. Twin Falls the third time. We've mentioned this on the show. It is so hard to beat a team twice, even harder to beat a team 3 times, but Bonneville did it.
Yeah, Bonneville, it's a team we talked about, and I would have to say, just this 5A level of baseball was so tough this year. And this is the first year it was a part of the IHSSA, and you had these super regionals, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion on this, and traveling all these weekends and doing all these things. But I guarantee you, Bonneville does not care where they had to play at or how many weekends they had to give up, because they're state champions. And they got this opportunity because of these regionals and different playing games. And I love it. And man,
me too.
What a run by Bonneville. I mean, it's a run you're going to talk about forever, right? And it's very interesting, right? In that game against Twin Falls, 2B's batters are hit by pitchers to tie and win the game in the bottom of the 7th. How crazy is that?
Just wild. I don't know if I've ever heard that or seen it. Obviously never seen it. I definitely never heard of getting hit twice to both to get the tying run in and then the winning run in.
And I mean, and if that doesn't happen, you're probably looking at a extra inning game, right? I mean, right. I think that's what you're looking at. But Bonneville, they were a team of a week for us. They came in and do different things, and to have to go down to that if necessary game was pretty interesting. It makes it almost a series. So right. it shows the Bees' depth, and congratulations to them, their coaches, all their players. I mean, they did it the hardest way possible, and now they're state champions.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't have to play 6 games like Malad, but they did play, I want to say it was 5, and Twin Falls played 4. So yeah, congrats to the Bonneville Bees. That's so cool for winning that state championship and coming in as the 1 seed and getting the job done. Just amazing. And Sean, I'm glad we talked about them as much as we did. They were our East Idaho team a few times, at least once, but we definitely kept tabs on Bonneville baseball, and man, they got it done. So really cool. And congrats to them. Let's go on to 4A. And who else, Sean, but Sugar Salem, but they came in as the 4 seed. I know people were surprised by that. Behind Dawson McAnally and his boys, they came in as the 4 seed, but they took care of business. 7-3 against Fruitland, 13-2 against Marsh Valley, a fellow East Idaho team, and then 9-5 against Fruitland once again. Sugar Salem saw that 4 seed and posted it on every locker room door, next to their beds, in their bathrooms, in the shower, everywhere where they could see, on their backpacks, on their Google Chromebooks. I mean, I'm telling you, Sean, Sugar Salem getting the 4 seed, that had to be offensive, but they took care of business.
Yeah, and their baseball is using max preps, and we all know how good or bad that algorithm works or whatever, but Sugar's they're the defending champs, and they're the champs until they're not, and they're still not the they're still the champs. They come in, they take care of business. Marsh Valley, hats off to Marsh Valley also having a very good season.
Yeah.
The Eagles in Marsh Valley doing a very good job. They had to take on Sugar didn't get done and have to go down and play Fruitland. But yeah, I mean, Sugar Salem, they had 35 home runs on the year, and not one was more important than McAnally's 14th of the year. In the bottom end of that game that got them that lead, and after they got that lead, they got a few more runs in. So that was pretty phenomenal. And you just have to, Sugar, yeah, being the 4 seed is surprising. And I guess that's just got to be based off who you play. But they played Marsh Valley, and Marsh Valley's the 3rd seed. I'm like, who else do you want them to play? So it'll be interesting to see. I know they use this season in baseball to kind of norm set what they're going to do as far as these super regionals and things like that. But yeah, Sugar getting it done. We could say the hard way, but I think, excuse me, anyone looking at this bracket, if you thought Sugar was the 4th seed, you were sleeping under a rock somewhere. But but Fruitland, the number 1 seed, does make it back to that championship game. They beat them again, and they beat them 7-3 in the first one. Sugar does, and they beat them 9-5 in the second one. So I mean, they're the undisputed state champs, right?
Yeah,
you beat them.
No, there's no question.
Yeah, you had to play those regionals. You played the number 1 seed twice, beat them twice. Like, you're the undisputed 4A state championship if you're Sugar. Not that you're not any other way, but this is definitely their body of work proves that.
Yeah, especially with wins 7-3, 13-2, 9-5. They were solid wins. I know that Dawson McAnally homer was super necessary, but still, those final scores show that they weren't just, not that Bonneville didn't deserve to be there, but you get hit by 2 pitches to win the game. It's like, wow, that's kind of nice. I didn't have to swing the bat.
Yeah.
But Sugar Salem, they had to swing the bat, right? Especially that last game. So congrats to Sugar Salem for winning it all for 4A baseball. And then Marsh Valley, again, got to shout them out. They did defeat number 2 Cole Valley 14-7. And CVC, they are known to be a powerhouse in baseball. Marsh Valley doubled them up in the score, but then Marsh Valley unfortunately ran into Sugar Salem and Fruitland. But congrats to Marsh Valley for a really good season in baseball. Of course, Sugar Salem for winning the 4A state championship in baseball. Let's go to 3A, and obviously another surprising one, but this time in a good way, with number 4 Malad coming in and defeating Orofino, Nampa Christian again, and winning the whole thing and being your 3A state champions. But man, no one saw that coming from number 4 Malad.
I mean, I don't know about that. I feel like I think we said a few times on here to kind of watch out for that Malad baseball team. And they had very convincing wins to this Malad team. And these Dragons, again, Malad being a 4th seed, I think I don't know if you got the seeding right there, right? I don't know if Malad's a 4th seed. And how would it be to be Orofino to be that 1 seed and you're playing this really good Malad team first round? I mean, it'll be interesting to see how these play out because, right, if you had that bigger bracket at the end of the year, you're not playing this game first round. But, I think it's pretty interesting. But with that being said, Malad, what a run. Taking down the 1 seed, taking down the 3rd seed in the true championship game. Yeah, just a great job by the Dragons. I mean, if you can swing at things, you obviously live in Malad, right? The softball team, the baseball team, they can swing at things. I just think, like, if you have mosquitoes in those electronic swatters, just get some kid from Malad. They'll take care of all the mosquitoes in your backyard.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't miss.
Well, Sean, let me tell you something. My name isn't no one, and your name isn't no one. And dude, I saw these guys play live, and I meant to say no one because here in the East Idaho Prepcast, we are not no ones, man.
Yeah, we talked about them.
We are someone. We talked about these guys.
In fact, you said that on our last podcast. Like, I'm covering these games. Watch out for Malad. I believe you said that. Like,
I sure did.
yeah,
Sean, I was calling Malad the entire time, calling for them to win the whole thing. I feel like I'm Shannon Sharp, but in all the good ways, not in some of the more bad ways.
you shortchanged yourself.
I sure changed myself. Dude, Malad, when I saw them play in that, I know we're not calling the super regionals here in Idaho, where we call them something else. I can't remember the name right now, but Malad was dominant, dude. I can't remember the team they played up in North Idaho, but they smacked them around. Their pitching was awesome. Their batting was awesome. Malad was peaking at the right time. I love that Malad was the 4th seed because unless you saw them play live, which I don't think anyone did in terms of, Orofino, Nampa. There were no scouts from Marcy, Nampa Christian, Orofino there. So you didn't know what was about to hit you. Malad's pitching was awesome. Their batting was awesome. So I wondered if they were peaking at the right time. They did. They went to state, did exactly what I was hoping they would. I mean, Orofino 1st seed, they beat them 6-3. Orofino Maniacs, they are, they're kind of like a Waihe of 6A. Everyone is afraid of Orofino in baseball. Malad had no problem with that. Now they did get into a shootout with Nampa Christian, but they got him 11-10. Malad showed that they could win the small ball games, if you will, 6-3, a lot of pitching, and they could win the big games and beat you through the air, right? 11-10. And then, of course, they beat Nampa Christian one more time, another close one, 8-6. So, we knew Malad was going to do well, but and I was calling for them to go all the way, but I'm just so proud of those Malad boys going all the way. But we wondered if they might do it, and they sure did.
And yeah, it's called the play-in series, not the super.
There you go, play-in series. Thank you.
And the game that sticks out in my mind is Malad beating Grangeville 10-0, right? To come into
yep.
And I don't think people had that on their bingo card, right? And it wasn't like they squeaked by, right? Malad beat a very good Parma team, which Parma is a team you could say could almost be at this point too, right? They beat Parma 3-0. They beat Grangeville 10-5 the first game, and then the second game they beat Grangeville 10-0. And I think after that game, I think you had to kind of think to yourself, yeah, Malad might be the team, because I know there's a lot of hype or talk about this Grangeville team, but Malad comes in,
big bats,
and they come and well, they silenced them. They scored 20 in 2 games, and Grangeville only scored 5. So that credit to the pitching of Malad, the fielding and all that. But yeah, nice job by the Dragons.
So one more time, W's over Orofino, and then 2 W's over Nampa Christian to take the dub. Congrats to the number 4 seed again. Wild that they were number 4 seed, but they were, and congrats to number 4 seed Malad for winning it all. So Sean, we had a 4A team, Sugar Salem, who was 4 seed, and Malad, a 4 seed. Both East Idaho teams, 4 seeds, winning it all. Pretty cool from 4A and 3A baseball. Let's finish off and let's get out of here, Sean. It's 9:20. One more. We got 2A baseball. No one from East Idaho. Were you surprised by this?
No, not really. I think, again, for 2A, you basically, it's like Butte and Grace, right? So
right,
you've got
exactly.
We don't have a big slice of the pie, and when you don't have a big slice of pie, you go hungry, and sometimes that's what happens. But you got to credit Grace and Butte for what they do when they do make it and do well, because it's so much harder than the teams that have a bigger conference and things like that. So where I'm not surprised. Oh yeah, Kendrick won another state championship.
They did. Yeah, man. As the 2 seed.
2-1. Good game there. But yeah, and it'll always be hard at this 2A level when you don't have a bigger conference, I think, just the size wise. But still congrats to everyone who played there, and congrats to Kendrick on yet another state championship.
Yeah. Speaking of that, Sean, let's finish off with this. A few items of note. I try to stay active on Instagram, and that's where I follow a lot of these schools, their football, basketball, baseball, all their sports programs, all their athletic programs. And I saw that spring football practice has started. And I think the first games are only about 100 days or less away. I know we get football fatigue here on the East Idaho Prepcast. We try to highlight all the sports, but we love football, dude. And football spring practices have started. And with that, another item to note, Keith Director, the head coach of North Fremont, came from New Orleans a few years back. He coached baseball this year for North Fremont. North Fremont was one of our sneakers that we thought maybe North Fremont can make some noise. They did make some noise in the district tournament, but they couldn't get past that the play-in series. But Keith Director has been announced as the new head coach of Salmon, going out there to Salmon football 3A. So he's going to continue to play against the 3A schools up in the Newt Conference, including North Fremont. I got to chat with him. He's doing football now, maybe baseball in the future, but for now, he's going to be focused on football. And so congrats to him on the new gig. Dude, Sean, you and I both know it's been a while since Salmon won a state championship in 2008, but maybe Keith Director can turn things around there there with the Salmon Savages.
Yeah, I think people just want to live there.
Right? Beautiful country.
I mean, like if you're gonna have
as
to
long
pick
as you have
somewhere
a
to
snowplow.
live somewhere in Idaho, what a great place to live. Yeah, well, yeah, hopefully that'll be a good move for him, and hopefully he can get the Salmon in a little better place football wise, and did a phenomenal job at North Fremont, and North Fremont had a lot of people graduate, so I mean that kind of makes sense to me in that move. But I think we're in an era now where we were used to having coaches be places a long time, and I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. I think you're going to see a lot more movement as far as coaching goes and things like that. And I mean I don't know how to feel about it. I'm an old school guy.
Yeah.
And I like longevity of things, but also I like the idea of new culture building and things like that too. So either way, I think it'll be very interesting to see kind of how East Idaho shapes up as far as coaching. I think we'll have some coaching changes when we do get to that football season as well too, and it'll be interesting to see how these teams perform. We always know it's hard to come in first year and change things up.
Yeah, definitely. So good luck to Keith Director there at Salmon football, and North Fremont looking for that head coach. Hopefully they find another good one like they've had the last few years. And then some news coming out of Pokey baseball, actually, Sean. Coach Benavides, they've got Rails West Field. It's by Hawthorne Middle School here in Pocatello. They broke ground yesterday for the future home of Pokey baseball. The rendering is awesome. I wish I had a picture to show you here. But it's gonna be right there next to Hawthorne Middle School. I think there's a church right there as well. Some great fields across the way, some great soccer fields across the way. I think another backstop as well. So just a great area, right, to put Pokey's baseball, home baseball field for years to come. So congrats to them, and want to thank again Rails West for providing the funding to get that field built over by Hawthorne Middle School for Pokey baseball.
Yeah, you're in the Pocatello area. You're seeing a little movement as far as getting facilities in a more in a better place, and you love to see it. And I'm just saying, if there's any banks listening, if you want to fund any tennis projects, hit me up. We can call it whatever, man. I'll put your name on it as big as you want. But yeah, I love seeing the Pocatello area moving forward in their facilities. The kids here deserve it. At the end of the day, yeah, I'm a Century guy. I went to Pocatello High School. I student taught at Highland, so I've been a part of all three high schools, and so I know the student athletes in the Pocatello area deserve the facilities that match the talents on the field.
Nice. Hey, we do have a comment here from Keller Sherman, our Salmon fan. We've mentioned Salmon a few times, and Keller shouted out Salmon as well. Salmon takes forever, he says, to get to, but well worth the drive. Would love to see Salmon football on the map and add to how stacked East Idaho is in 3A, like with most classes on the gridiron.
Yeah,
no doubt, Keller. And then he has one more comment here. I did the final count of state champions for all sports long classes. District 3 has the most, but take out 6A and District 6 ties it, and take out 6A, and District 6 ties it for most championships of any district in the state at 17.
Wow.
Keller, that's a great stat.
That's a
You got
great,
to send that to us. Like email, DM it to me, Keller. I'm at E1 Educador, Sean at SK182. That's an awesome stat for our East Idaho feather in the cap. Go ahead, Sean.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, I already knew East Idaho performed really well, but it was great to get the data to back up my boisterous comments throughout the year. Thank you, Keller.
Awesome, Keller. Thanks for commenting on the show, man. Sean, let's one more time. I want to end with promoting our sponsor. We're super grateful for them to helping us bring this podcast, Prepcast, to everyone week in, week out. It's ideal. They're a state-sponsored tax-advantaged savings plan. Please look them up on idsavings.org. An ideal 529 account can be used towards higher education, a trade school, apprenticeship, or even student loan repayments. Costs of college are going up, so developing a savings plan is the first and most important step in helping families finance a college education. So go to idsavings.org. We're super thankful for them for helping us put this Prepcast on week in and week out and celebrate these great student athletes, these teams, these coaches. Before we go, Sean, we may not be here for a few weeks. We're going to go on a vacation. School's ending this week, next week. We're going to try to do a few shows throughout the summer. Maybe bring on some guests. Maybe bring on some guests from former state champions from East Idaho this year. By the way, I was able to meet the Rockland. I think it was the Rockland. Was it the volleyball girls basketball head coach? Doing some Friday night football. Our boys played on the same team, so maybe we can get Rockland on here and some other interviews throughout the summer. But we're not going to be here full time until football and other sports start in August. So we want to end with some quick thoughts from Sean and myself. Sean, why don't you take it away first?
Oh well, again, I just want to thank all the East Idaho coaches, players that contact me, talk to me. It's been phenomenal. I really appreciate all of that. And, thanks to definitely, Idaho Sports and everyone for giving us, me and Joel, this platform. Thanks to Joel, man. Is there an applause button to hit for Joel coming over and taking over for Brandon's spot on this? And it's been phenomenal covering, everyone in East Idaho. I know we don't get to everyone, and I wish we could, but again, like we say every week, our ats are there at the bottom. Hit us up. We'll put those stories in. We'll get those players. We'll get those coaches on because we love doing interviews. I think we had more interviews than any other podcasts this season. And that's just a credit again to what makes East Idaho great. Phenomenal coaches, phenomenal players, phenomenal families. And all those people, I've really enjoyed that. And yeah, it's been a great season. I can't believe it's over. It's again, like I say, it's always like feels really, really long, and spring goes whoop, and we're done. And I have to shout out all my tennis players that put up with me this season. Joel, this was year 20 of me coaching high school tennis. So yeah, I'm coming back for year 21. I know there's been some question marks, but I'm just going to make it known tonight. Year 21's happening, as far as I know right now, unless they don't hire me back. But yeah, I'm going to come back, and I'm looking forward to doing some more football and stuff, and and hopefully we can get some of those state champion coaches maybe on this summer. But it's been an excellent ride, and like I started the show, part of the journey's the end, and this is the end on the 2025 season. We go through 2 years throughout the high school sports season because that's how school works. And I've enjoyed every minute of it. And hopefully me and Joel will get to do some more football games. That's what that was all the lead up. Like, hopefully me and you can do more football games, right?
Yeah, dude.
Right? That's always been the goal. It's hopefully for me and Joel to do some more football games. But thanks, East Idaho, for letting us be part of your highs and lows and really welcome us into your families. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Good words. When Brandon asked me to do this Prepcast with you, I've been here. This is my 4th year here in East Idaho, 3rd year. doing this. Yeah, this is my third year doing Idaho Sports, and I don't have the historical knowledge like the Keller Shermans, the Sean Canes have, and so it was a little bit daunting of a task, of an assignment, of an opportunity. But Sean, when the opportunities come knocking, you got to go, right? You got to open the door and take off. And I've been so thankful to you for all your knowledge, all the, like you said, just got to repeat, all the coaches, all the families, all the players, all the fans. We got fans who there's no connection at this point to the programs, but they're interested. They're interested in their communities. And that's what makes this Prepcast run, is we get the information from you all. We get to celebrate you all. And it's been a pleasure. It's made this task a little bit less daunting, and not having that historical knowledge, but getting a lot of great information, stories, storylines, and support from everyone here in East Idaho. So, hey, we're not perfect. I'm definitely not perfect. But it's been an awesome ride doing this Prepcast with you almost week in and week out. Sean, we were really close to hitting every week, but especially as the spring came and, you were doing tennis, we didn't quite get every week, but man, we were really close. But I was really proud of all the interviews we had, all the live chats with coaches, players. What an awesome opportunity to celebrate these kids, these student athletes, and even not some non-student athletes. We had some folks go through some hard times, some hospitalizations, and it was so cool to see these communities rally around them and celebrate some of those. But yeah, the student athletes, some of their friends, and then the coaches, the teams. There was such a fun time to celebrate East Idaho high school athletics. But do want to remind everyone that, we use sports as an outlet, as an opportunity to have some fun, and want to remind everyone to keep it fun, keep it that way, right? In the end, relationships are most important, and we can form a lot of great relationships in sports. But in the end, it's the relationships that matter. It's not the score at the end of the game. You want to win that state championship. You want to win that next game. But it really is those relationships, and want to make sure that we're being good neighbors, we're being good friends, and we're trying to support one another. We want to get out. We want to be less. Want to make sure that we're not getting stuck in ourselves, but we're reaching out and being in a good community. And I love that about East Idaho, that we are a good community. For Sean Kane, I'm Joel Richardson saying be excellent to each other. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy your summer, and we'll see you next time on the East Idaho Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.